All right. 3, 2, 1. We're live.
All right. Episode 17. We are, what is that in people years? What do you get at 17? It's like your last year of being an official teenager, I guess.
Dude,
I guess
what
18
is 17?
I don't know, it's basically one of those no man's land years. Kind of like 25 to 39.
Yeah, dude. 18 to 21. Like you're 18, you're an adult now, and then 19, 20, you're like...
Dude, 25 is the last year where like you actually get something good to look for. And that's your insurance goes down. That's like the...
Wait, what's that? What do you mean?
Yeah, your insurance goes down a lot when
you're 25.
You're
insured? I thought that was like insuring coast gown. I was like, what's a coast gown?
Yeah, no, insurance goes down a lot. You can finally like rent a car.
That's what I was excited for.
Yeah, right? So that's like an adult version of getting excited about something.
Yeah.
17, you're like, oh, I can turn 18. I can finally buy cigarettes or something.
All right, I think 17 by...
Yeah, after 25, it's like...
I feel like graduation from high school. You're graduating high school at 17.
Some people are.
Yeah.
I would have if I'd finished high school.
Hell yeah, right?
But I am a loser and dropped out. So.
Oh man, you're not a loser. You're a winner.
And gosh darn it, people like me. All right, cool. So today's episode, Kota and I were talking about this last night and what we wanted to bring you guys and what we think could be the most value. And the topic came up of scaling. Which is something that you're working on. I have a little bit of experience with that, like growing and then contracting our business purposefully, and then regrowing it again. So yeah, scaling. So you guys listen to this. I mean, we'll probably go in depth and take a bunch of lefts and rights and ups and downs. But that's exactly what scaling is going to look like in your company. So strap in, grab a macchiato, and let's go.
Oh. We should get some.
Sounds good, right? All I got is kombucha right now. Well, let's start with your example, like where you're at and where you want to go.
Yeah. So I had an amazing weekend this weekend, and I got a great client, someone that is at the tier that I want a client to be at. Right? When we talk about all the time on podcasts, like when you're first in like an entrepreneur and starting a business, you kind of take any client you can get, right? Kind of, it could be free or just really cheap, but you just have to build that experience, that portfolio. I want to make sure we do a great job, but I have a lot of other clients that I'm also taking care of when it comes to creating content for them. I just feel super stagnant though.
How so?
I just feel like I'm not where I want to be close. Like that's the thing. I don't feel like I'm close to what I'm doing, like where I want to be at all.
Well, of course, you're like a year in.
I know, but that's the thing where it's just like, I feel like, do I focus on the whole scaling where I have around 10 to 12 clients, right?
So just to put things in perspective too, I'm 15 years in business now, and I don't feel like I'm at the point where I wish I was or I feel like I should be.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that ever goes away. But yeah. Sorry, I don't want to interrupt it.
Yeah, no, but cause I think me and you talked about that before we hopped on. It's just the thing of being content. I think most entrepreneurs are never content. I feel like you just constantly keep growing, and it's like celebrating those small wins. You know, it's hard to celebrate those small wins. I don't care. It's because I have that big picture. Mm-hmm. It's cool when it happens, but it's like, all right, that was fun. But it's like, all right, let's keep going.
Well, I think that's just the nature of entrepreneurship. Is if you choose to go down that path, people who choose that generally want more than average, or they want more control than average. They want more freedom than average. They want something outside the norm, and they want to bet on themselves to create it. So within that, you already have somebody whose mentality is like, okay, more, and they're willing to do the work to achieve that. That doesn't just turn off. You know what I mean? And I don't know if it ever goes away. And that's why you see a lot of entrepreneurs who really like end up scaling, building, and they're never really happy because they get something big and then they realize like, well, it's always about this next thing, and more, when in reality, honestly, scaling is not the best choice in a lot of situations. And if they really ask themselves like, what is it that makes you happy? What do you really want out of, this life and your business and all this energy you're putting into it? Scaling is not always the best option. Like for our company, dude, we made like me personally made way more take-home money when we were smaller.
Yeah, that hit home for me like last week when you told me the last podcast. you said the bigger you get, like the more your profit margins can go down. It's like kind of the opposite, you know?
Yeah.
So it's kind of that way.
But you have to, as soon as that starts happening, you have to get bigger to maintain the same amount of money. And the potential of that is much bigger because, 1% of a massive company is way bigger than 100% of a small company. So, but also you have to balance that out of like, okay, what's it going to take for me to get there, capital wise, bandwidth wise, energy, time, everything. And then really determine like, shit, can I sprint for the next 5 years and build it to that point? Or am I better off like, hey, capping it, like, this is the max amount of clients I want to have. This is my target goal for money. And this is how big I need to get the company to achieve that. And you can maintain your small overhead and grow your profit margin and have happy clients and live a great life, because scale is not like, it's a fucking beast, dude. It's an animal and it's a constant tightrope walking of like growing, like betting on yourself and like growing too fast and outrunning your capital, or growing too small or too slow, and then you're like, pissed off at yourself and fucking feeling bad.
That's where I'm at. Because I know you just said that, like, dude, you're doing it a year, right? I feel like I've been doing it way longer than that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I've been doing it for 2, but this is like the business model I've been going off for like the last year. So it makes sense. But I think it's like for you when you started industry, right? But you started companies before that too, where you feel like you have a great foundation. How do you make that foundation even fucking better? Like, because I can't wait for the day where people come to me because I have an expertise in something, but sometimes I don't feel like I have that expertise within myself because I know I have so much growing to do when it comes to like, dude, I could really like be the best at like every time you make a video, you'll get a million follow or views, or you'll get this. Well, it's gonna monetize so people get more sales to that landing page that you hit. That like being a genius at that type of shit. Right now, it's creating content, but being more value to people. But it's like I have that foundation. Like, what was it like when you had a foundation first starting a business and like? It's like patience? I don't know.
Well, I think what I wanted has changed over time because I became more aware of the things that I should have asked myself in the beginning. And most of the companies I didn't even think about an exit strategy or anything on the back end. I just thought, I want to make money and have more control over my time and freedom and experiences. And that worked, but at the same time, it's kind of limiting because I didn't really think about like, I want, where I wanted it to go. I was just going down this path and just charging and, doing work, but I never really thought about, what the options were, how I could kind of play a different game, start playing the chess game versus checkers game.
That's where I'm at. It's just like, my mind's so fixated on the future and I know it's going to get to where I want to be, but it's just kind of like, it's like the figuring out stages where you have to be patient.
I think the best place to start is at the end and ask yourself, what do you want it to look like? Like ideally in, let's say, relatively short-term goal, like 5 years, what do you want the business to look like? Or maybe let's start at 10 years. Like at 10 years, do you even want to still have this business?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you want to?
So in the next 10 years, we want to be doing like 25 million.
But I mean, why? 25 million.
It's a sick ass number.
It is a great number. I love that. Hell yeah. But I mean, but that's what I mean. I think it's useful to kind of identify what it is, number one, and then maybe question that. It's like, okay, what does 25 million get you? Because if you have a partner and you're 50-50, 12 and a half, you're splitting, let's say it's 20% profit margin, right? So you got, 5 million at the end of it. You and your partner splitting 50-50, 2.5 million after taxes. You got, 1.5 basically per year, which is awesome. Fucking great money. What do you want to do with that though? I mean, like, I put it to you this way. When in 10 years, companies say it's doing $25 million, what does your day look like? Like when you open your eyes, what does that look like? What type of house are you in? Are you in the mountains? Are you in a city? Are you in the ocean?
Like, it's a beautiful house, big, like 7,500 square foot house in La Jolla overlooking the beach.
Yeah. No, but that's great. And I think, well, first off, sounds like we're going to be neighbors because it's pretty similar to that. But I do think it's useful and valuable to identify that, because then you can work backwards, right? And you're like, okay, what type of house? A house in La Jolla might be, $2.5 million to, $40 million, depending on what it is. So that is either within range or out of range of 25 million. So that's one piece of that is to maybe get a 7,500 square foot house on the beach in La Jolla. For sure, $20 million house. Yeah. Which on the mortgage on that was about $5,000 per every million. So whatever that $100,000, $80,000 to $100,000 a month mortgage. I'm totally screwing up those numbers. It's
expensive.
It's expensive, yeah. Yeah, but totally doable. So $20 million house is going to be around $100,000 a month mortgage. So that's $1.2 million a year. There goes all your profit. You're going to need to make more than 25 million, bro. But there we go. Right, but that's why I think it's important to through that discussion, maybe you realize, okay, maybe I need to make 50 million a year, or maybe it needs to be 100 million or whatever it is, but you need to be very clear on it, because at those numbers, even just like a quick calculation, you're not going to get you where you want to go with your current state of vision. You know what I mean? So now if we address, okay, everything I want in 5 years, I know I cannot achieve with this current level of vision. Can I do it at 25 million, or can I do it at 50 million? And you're like, okay, well, what does that look like? Now you and your partner say the same thing. Now you guys are splitting $10 million profit each. So 5 million. So you doubled your revenue. So
I can afford the house now.
Yeah. So let's look at it. So we got, let's say $4 million after taxes. So $4 million take home divided by 12. So you're roughly pulling in $330,000 per month on that. So yeah, 30% of that, I mean, that's an expensive ass fucking house for that. 30% of your take home is a lot for a house. So still you might need to make more than that for that house. Or the alternative is, downsize the dream a little bit, but I don't like that idea. I like the idea of just pushing what it takes to get there further and bigger. So it might be 100 million. And if you're doing 100 million, now you got $666,000 per month. Now you're only, 18% of your stuff is going to the mortgage? Less than that, 15%. So now you're good, but now to get what you want to get, you have to have a $100 million company, which is totally doable. Probably not in 5 years, so, but maybe that's a 10-year goal. And you're still super young, dude. So how old are you? 27, 28?
27 next month.
Yeah, 27. So even if you achieve that by 37, you're still, 7 years younger than me? And I don't have a 7,500 square foot house on the fucking beach. Dude, you're good. These are all, but that's what I mean. It's a little bit, it's sometimes a little bit challenging to pull the dream apart and figure it out, but you can't figure out the path there unless you really examine what it is that you want. But you're right, $100 million company is very different than $1 million company. Aside from the systems and processes and the financing, whatever, but the main part of that is the people, because after a certain point in the company, it's the people that end up scaling it. And once the systems and processes are set, it's the people that scale it. So now you are probably not going to be an operator in the company, past about $1.5 million. Even your partner is probably not going to be operating the company, but you guys will be managing people. Once you guys get to about 5 to 7 million, you guys will have managers underneath you that are managing the people, and you guys will be leading those people. And that's kind of it's like a 3-tier shift from operator to manager to leader. But nobody running a $100 million company is you have to be all three at that level. You know what I mean? You have to be an operator. You have to know the systems and the processes. You have to be capable of doing the things, right? And you have to be capable of managing people, because you have to know your team. People are very complex and it takes a long time to figure that out. And the level above that is leadership, which is growing other leaders, growing other managers, but you can't build a big company without doing all three. And that's the same conclusion I came to a couple of years ago, actually through joining Airtake, because I was like, oh, I'm doing good. I've got my business. I'm all fucking, got my Lambo, all Mr. fucking hotshot. And I go in there and these motherfuckers got $400 million companies, $500 million companies. I'm like, oh, fuck me. Like, holy shit. Like, it's a totally different level. But one of the things that, well, two things on that. Number one, it was awesome to see that a lot of their problems are the same problems that I was dealing with. And it gave me confidence to basically know that I was already on the right direction. I just needed to stop second guessing myself and just execute faster. Because one of the things we're really good at is fixing things when they go wrong. And I trust my team to do that. So if we know that we can fix things when they go wrong, and I know that things go wrong anyway, I should just execute faster, do more, and progress faster, and we're gonna be fine. So that worked. And then the other portion of it was realizing that these guys are completely different animals than I am. Like, I might have common things with them, like, you know, we both have fangs and fur, whatever, like for all, you know, wolves, but like they're, I mean, thousands of times my size, like literally in the size of their company and size of their capabilities too. Like, they were fantastic leaders, like phenomenal managers and great operators. So, and it was cool to see them at that level, like Andy and Ed, go from leadership style to management techniques to actually like operator tactics in their own companies that they knew. And I was like, wow, like if I want to build a big company, I have to get good at these things. I can't forsake these things. I can't outsource them. I can't hire somebody to be a leader in my company. I have to fucking create them. How do I create leaders in my company? That means I need to become a leader. I need to become a great leader so that I can create other great leaders so that they can manage their teams and we can scale and build something to the size that I want. But before that, I, like, similar to this conversation, I never really asked myself how big I wanted to get it. But after that, I was like, okay, I want a $300 million company. And that was the goal I set for myself, you know, 3 years ago. I was like, in 5 years, I want a $300 million company. And we're nowhere there now. I mean, maybe we'll probably be around 10 this year, but it's, you know, nowhere near where I wanted to be. Actually, I think in my projections, we were on track to do 20 this year. So maybe we're not that far off, but it was doing exactly what we're doing in this conversation at that event and realizing how they built their systems and scaled their people. But that's exactly what it was. They scaled their people because the systems and processes, after a while, like once they're set, like there's not a whole lot you have to do to them. It's the people that are constant, like, that's the hard part.
Yeah, dude. And you made me like trigger a whole bunch of questions just saying that. So you're in the SEALs, right? Were you like molded as a leader in there?
I was not a leader at all. Okay. No, I actively did not want leadership.
Okay, there you go.
I hated it. No.
So when you realize these entrepreneurs, so then you got in a business, and then you realize these heavy hitters and what they're doing, they're just amazing leaders in their company. That's what made you realize, like, I have to be a leader, right? But
yeah.
How did you like take charge? Be like, all right, I'm gonna be a fucking leader. No, it's hard to just fucking do that.
Well, I didn't want to do it. I actively was trying to build my company without that. I wanted to outsource everything and hire other companies to do stuff. And it was actually something my buddy Brandon said to me, because I was talking about like having employee issues or something at the time. We're having dinner. And I was telling him like I want to build a big company. He's like, bro, you're never going to build a company the size that you want unless you get comfortable being a leader. I was like, nah, I can do it. And yeah, man, a couple of years later, dude, he was completely right. He was totally fucking right. But it was by seeing how these guys are doing it that I realized, like, oh, fuck, that's what it looks like. And yeah, it's all the people, man.
So I have about 10 people. No, that was not true. About 10 clients. I have about like 3-4 editors, right? 2 editors, pretty much like a whole account manager that helps me with all the running the accounts, and like a thumbnail person. They help with graphics. If there's a thing that needs to pop up on Instagram, someone just like wants a cool photo or whatever, done. I want to know if I'm delegating correctly, because sometimes when I talk to you, you're like around 6 figures. Like, this is when you should start scaling with this kind of thing. And then after like
those are all just guesstimates.
I know,
though.
but I'm not saying, yeah, but that's the thing. You've been there, right? You're there.
I can only speak on like kind of what it looked like the bandwidth for my company, but every company is different. But dude, honestly, I would say trust yourself. Like you're good at this stuff. You're good with people. You're better with people than I was at that age for fucking sure. So I would say just trust yourself for it. And the metric is number one, is it working? Meaning is the product good and the client's happy? And number two, is your team member happy? Mm-hmm. Are you compensating them correctly? Does it work out financially? And those are the three metrics that you have to worry about. And that defines success for that role. Is client happy, employees happy, and you're financially stable and set. That's success. So don't worry about it. Move on to the next thing because that's already set. And you can get it, but once you get a few of those like modules, like say you have 8 of these modules that you're working together, then you'll have a team that's fixing and working on the minutia and the details of all those things. And that'll be their role, is they'll be like, that'll be like almost like a COO type position or like an operations type position in the company. But you've already got it. Mm-hmm. You're already doing everything right. You just need to do more of it.
I guess.
As simple as it sounds, yeah. That's literally what it is.
I think that's where I'm like, business is simple, it's a game, but it's not easy at the same time. But sometimes when I get to that next level, is it just that simple? Maybe I just look for something, a harder thing of like...
Dude, the only portion that doesn't make any sense is the fucking finance portion. That stuff is like, it's not intuitive. Like if you don't learn from somebody and like somebody knows what they're doing, it's not an intuitive game. You're not going to naturally figure out the finance game because it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. But everything else, every other part of business, man, like as far as the systems and processes, whatever you think is the right answer is 99% of the time going to be the right answer. So if you can just trust yourself and execute on it, and the 99 times you're right, cool. You don't have to worry about it. And the 1% you're wrong, awesome. Now you get a chance to learn and fix and progress. Cool. Now you fixed it. So don't worry about it. Just keep going and moving faster. And as long as the finance can keep up with it, then, you're good. And once you get enough people too, and this is probably the portion I didn't pay attention to, or I should have paid more attention to, was how to, number one, hire the right people. And by hire, you got to first attract the right people by making your company something that people want to be associated with. Hiring them on, like how you do that in the process. Training them is a big thing. And then, making sure that they're happy and making sure that they can achieve success in your company, finding out what success means to them, and then making sure that like they can achieve that underneath your umbrella. Because if you have a $100 million company, you probably have somebody on staff that you pay $1 million to. That's very reasonable, Yeah. And that's the entrepreneur thing where because everybody thinks they need to be a fucking entrepreneur, but it's a fucking gamble and it's a risk and it's stressful. And like, dude, the payoff can be huge, but also, dude, it's not the right answer for a lot of people. A lot of people think they want to be entrepreneurs, would be way better off being an entrepreneur, where finding somebody who has a company and needs somebody inside it who can treat their division or their department like it's their company and then grow that. And if you grow revenue for a company, especially like an entrepreneur-led company, you're going to get compensated appropriately. Like, I can't wait until somebody I have on staff that I get to pay $1 million a year. Because that means, guess how much money that motherfucker's making me? I'm like, dude, I will happily pay a dude or girl, whatever, $1 million if they're bringing enough value. And that's what people don't understand. They think that they have to be an entrepreneur. In reality, you don't. Entrepreneur is just an ecosystem that you create. Like all this we have, this is just an ecosystem. It's products and services and systems and processes, but it's also people. And if we have like all-stars in here that can help scale the rest of it and push the ceiling up, fuck yeah, there's room in the payroll for that. Absolutely.
Because I know we've talked about that. It's more badass paying an employee $1 million than I made $1 million,
Yeah.
It's just like...
Oh, way cooler.
Way cooler. Another thing, I feel like the podcast kind of like switched. Went to scaling to more like finding your dream, but also like, I don't know. But I think it helps me out a lot. And I think I'm just kind of like not a funk at all. It's just more of this, like a situation where I'm like kind of treading water.
Why do you feel like that though?
I don't know.
Because like, it's totally normal to be like, you're
I know,
doing
like,
awesome.
I'm
you
not
just landed a huge client. Like you should be stoked.
I am stoked, but it's just like, I don't know. It's just,
I got an idea.
Yeah.
That might fix this. This is something that Ed taught our crew in the original Arete group that I've since used and found it super fucking useful. He calls it touching the dream. I would suggest you and your girl book that house that you want. Book that fucking house. The one on La Jolla that's big as fuck. Book that fucking house for 2 nights. So you get like, because one night you just get like, you're there and then you got to leave and you can't really enjoy it and like you're worried about the house. Book it for 2 nights. And you can have people over, whatever, but like enjoy that house and experience that house. Bring that house into your life because that's a focal point of what's driving you, right? So if you can touch that, you can make it more real. It helps motivate you. So it's 2 things. Number 1, it'll help motivate you to be like, oh, fuck, I can do this. And then if you reach back and like, well, what got me here? Well, fuck, I just landed a big client. This can be great for my company. I do more of this, I get more of this. And it helps make it real because you should reward yourself when you get like a killer deal or you do something awesome. Like there is value in delayed gratification. You have to like measure that. You can't just, go out and blow all the money up front. But you have to find that apex point of value that you feel like you're rewarding yourself enough to get yourself to keep going. Because it is like mentally exhausting being an entrepreneur, dude. And if you don't reward yourself in ways that you feel like filling your tank back up, you'll just eventually run out of fuel. And that's why most businesses, like, people say finance is the most common reason the businesses fail, but there's a lot of ways around finance. I think it's just entrepreneurs get burned out and it's because they don't reward themselves. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think you guys should totally do that. Find an Airbnb and go touch that dream.
It's a great idea, man. I've always overcomplicated things when it's like, no, man, it's that simple. But why is that simple?
Yeah.
But how is it
well,
this
because you're a smart person and smart people overthink things. That's why most smart people are not that successful is because they overthink things. And you see a lot of dumb people that are massively successful because they just don't fucking think about it. They just go do it. Whereas smart people are like, oh, what do people think? I should think about this. I should think about this. Like, no, you should go fucking do. And you're smart enough to figure it out at the times that it doesn't work. Like that's really what it is though. I just need to pull the trigger on something like the like syndicate, like going to like one of those those things. Because do you meet up like twice a week Zoom or? So the original group was a locked in group for a whole year.
Yeah.
And it was like $50,000 for the first year, and it was awesome. We only had 62 people in there, and it was like really, really tight knit. Second year was a little bit different. It was around the same price, but it was like 120 people. And it was still really close because it was closed off for the year. But it was, twice as many people. So it's hard to be as close. And then a couple years ago, they combined the syndicate, which is the main group, and then the accelerator, which is like the on-ramp to that. And the accelerator was only online. And it was like, I think 1 call a week or 1 call every 2 weeks. But they didn't have any of the events in them. So now they combined everything in Arete Syndicate. So you pay, I think it's like $400 a month, something like that for the online stuff. And then you can kind of a la carte the events and go separate. Each event's like, I don't know, 12,000 to 20,000. But since they became a la carte, I'm still a member. I watch a lot of the online stuff, but I haven't been to any of the events in person yet. But yeah, dude, that's one of the best things I got out of that group was just validation that I was doing a lot of things right. I mean, obviously a lot of things I need to completely change and do differently, but the core elements of what I thought I was on the right track with. And so that made me feel better and allowed me to execute faster because I removed a lot of self-doubt from that equation. But also a huge part of it was just realizing like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like, it's not crazy to cancel on your family. It's not crazy to not go to Thanksgiving dinner. It's not crazy to not go out with your friends and go, pursue your vision. That's not fucking crazy at all. It's crazy to other people, but that's what those groups give you is a small core group of other people who are just as nuts as you about the same things. And it makes you feel like not alone, which is super valuable.
I think, that's what I feel like I need more of right now. And you said something too. It's not what I'm doing right. It's like, what am I doing wrong? Mm-hmm. So I could that's maybe like a way for me to look at it, or it's like, what am I not doing the things I don't know? Because I feel like when I think of am I doing this right? Dude, you're doing it right. You're just focused on it so much that you're doing it right. You feel like something's wrong with it. You know, so it's like, okay, figure out what are you not doing correctly that you feel like, oh, if you did that, that would raise that too. Like,
well, I think you're at the point now where you should think about pulling your head up from the operational side of things and looking at the managerial side. Because if you're hiring these people and doing a good job and the client's happy and they're happy and you're making money, that's a winning system. You don't need to spend your energy and your focus on that anymore. That's done. Go build something else. Go do something new. Build something else that's a bigger problem. Go solve that problem. Because this is already, it doesn't need to be solved 100%. Because there's always things you can tweak and do better. It just needs to be solved 90%. Sometimes 85%. Once it's there, move on to something that's only functioning at 40%. Get that up to 85, 90%. Then move on to something else. And that's all we do is a series of.
Can you say like an example of like something that you built in that aspect, and then like, okay, I'm gonna go do this now over here, fix this. Okay, that's clean now. I'm gonna keep going over here and patching this.
Exactly. So our production department is built on a very clean, very clear, distinct system. It's just like a checklist of processes that we go through, and right now it's very detailed. And every piece, that's like a flight checklist. Like it has to be done, because if something is not checked on there, something can go very wrong. But we built that entire thing by shit going wrong. But when I originally handed it off, I had it functioning, probably 80% of the time it was good. I mean, our system now couldn't function on that same system. We've, elevated a bit. But at the time when I handed it off, it was like 80% good. And then Disney took it and did the extra polishing to make it like 90, 95%. And then when we got bigger and we brought on more employees, they took it and polished it even further and 99%, 99.9%. But I hadn't touched it since I handed it off at 80. Because I've got, like, say, at the time we were doing like content creation department and a marketing department. And those are only functioning like 20% and 40%. So I'm like, oh shit, I need to go fix this marketing department. Like, what are we charging? Like, what are we paying? How are we getting clients? Are the clients happy? Are we delivering what they need? Are we articulating the message correctly? And once we got that functioning, cool, I move on to a different department. But that's, I think, would be useful for you at this stage, because if you've already created something and it's working, move on to something else, because there are other parts of the business that you could have more impact on than trying to get something from 95% to 98%. If that makes sense?
Yeah.
Aggressive patience is something that's hard to do, but it's something that you need to do, because I know for me, like my goals, I got big fucking goals, and I'm like, okay, yeah, the company is doing well now and we solved a lot of problems and I'm happy with where we're at now, but I'm not satisfied with it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit back and be like, oh, I built a $10 million company. Like, from talking with other guys at Airtate, so is every dickhead on the fucking corner. You know what I mean? So I'm like, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me to do that, but I want to build it for me because that gives me the freedom to do the things like almost exactly the same thing that you described. But also too is just validation. A big part of that is just my own ego. Like, I want to have a big ass fucking company because I want to view myself that way. I want to view myself as somebody who can lead $100 million company or $500 million company or $1 billion, whatever it is. But I want to view myself that way. And I know that I'm not there yet, but this is my training. This is my process. This is why I do these things. I want to become that person. This is why I do this. Because I learn through these conversations, and I know that, yeah, I can be a person who leads a $10 million company right now. I'm not a person who can lead a $100 million company, and I need to become that. So how do I train myself to do that? Through this. Same thing as Buds, dude. Like, that's the reason I wanted to be a SEAL, was because I wanted to view myself. I read about those guys and I respected them, and I wanted to respect myself that much. That's the whole reason I joined the teams. And, thankfully it worked out. And, training was hard as fuck. This training is also hard as fuck. You know what I mean? Where you're going from, 1 million to 10 million is hard as fuck. From 10 million to 100 million, I'm not there yet, but I imagine it's probably going to look a lot like the previous hard as fuck. And that's just kind of like, it's just the journey. Yeah. It's just what you got to do. But I would say a lot of these little nuggets that I wish I had taken on board earlier. Man, just give yourself some credit, like you are doing awesome shit. No doubt about it. Like no matter how big or small things are, it's brand new and everything brand new. It's nothing out of the box is, $1 million company. Maybe to get back to our original fucking tangent. Say, if you looked at what the company looks like at 25 million, what would that company look like at 100 million? So now you're like, okay, maybe you need multiple locations across the US.
4 times better.
4 times better. Yeah. But I mean, what does that structure look like? How many employees, how many clients? Do you offer the same types of services? As you get bigger, like maybe at 10 million or 20 million, you can start to offer different types of services, maybe like website creation or, everything that your clients need. The more you can come like a full package service for them, like the more embedded they are in your company. Like Amazon started out as like just books. They were solely focused on books. And now, I mean, you could buy everything in this room off of Amazon.
Yeah,
it's nuts, dude. Yeah, but it didn't start out that way.
That's why I love entrepreneurship. Like I'll be at my desk. It's different every single day. You don't know where that shit's going to take you, and that's the most exciting thing. It's scary, but it's to me the most exciting.
That's one of the things that I love about it too, is that like we never have to solve the same problem. It's always something different. And it's always exciting. And like through working with different clients, we're solving like new problems all the time. And, most of the times we can help solve those problems too, which is very rewarding. But dude, yeah, it's never dull. It's never the same shit is really what it comes down to. Because life is gonna be hard no matter what you do. So you might as well like do something hard that rewards you in high capacity. I mean, working for somebody else is hard. Getting up at 9 to 5 and doing a job that you don't like with people you don't like being trapped into that's also fucking hard, But waking up at 5 a.m. and working on your own shit and staying up till midnight, that's also hard. Some might weight each of them differently, but I think the people who make the choice to be there, be an entrepreneur, it's a different mindset. It's a different mentality. And through that mentality, I think you have to have a certain amount of resiliency. And resiliency only comes from getting kicked in the fucking teeth, and realizing you're not made of glass and that you can carry on.
So when industry kind of first started, is it about like having more clients for like less price range? Or is it about having less clients, but bring so much value to them, it's worth the money and just like...
That's where we're at now. Yeah. But our main focus really, like the top line, is we just want to work with people who want to do the work to grow their brands, and we can help them in a variety of ways. So that's kind of what we do, is we just like, hey, we identify a brand that has a lot of potential and an owner that is driven. And we're like, okay, here's the ecosystem we have. Here's all the solutions that we have. How can we help? Like, where do you want to go? And how can we help you get there faster? And if we're providing the product, the more product they sell, like they're making more money, we're making more money. Their customers super happy because they're getting a quality product from a brand they love. Like it's a win-win-win. So that's kind of how we built the whole thing. We tried a bunch of other stuff that like the content creation, the advertising. We try to do way too many things too fast and just way overran our capital and had to contract.
Do you vet every new client that you're going to like probably?
Yes.
Yeah. Even if they say, hey, like we have this company and we make this much in revenue. Do you still have like, we make $1 million, $3 million, $5 million?
I check now because I got burned a couple times. So like, oh, we do this much, we do this much. We're like, okay, cool, awesome, we're a great fit. And I made accommodations and put capital into developing capabilities for them. And then they're like, oh, actually, yeah, it was like 1/10 of what they said. I'm like, oh, fuck, thanks a lot.
Well, we put like a 5x multiple on it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's evaluation. Like, okay, yeah. Valuation is very different than fucking revenue.
Could be anything you want.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, dude, I think, honestly, you're on the right track, dude. You already know what the right answer is.
Like, to me, like, this helped a lot. Like, legit, this is something where I feel like I took this podcast more selfishly, but I feel like people do go through this shit.
Everybody does.
You know, so
Yes.
I think to me, it was more just like talking about it,
Yeah.
you know, because it's just like, I'm in a great place. I know I'm doing it right. It's a normal aspect of entrepreneurship that you feel like it's not, when it 100% is. Like you said, you've been doing this for 15 years. You look at me like, dude, you're fucking good. You're fine. And I know I'm fine. Like someone could say, you're not okay. I'd be like, okay, I know I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's just one of those things where no one knows. Like no one talks about it. Like to me. So I'm like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, dude. I've had like this conversation, I had very similar conversations with other entrepreneurs, like sit in my house, like by my fire pit, smoking cigars and drinking drinks, which we should do sometime.
I know, right?
But dude, like a lot of them say the exact same thing that you just said. And that's totally normal. I feel that way. You know, I feel the way now with things I want to do. Like, fuck, am I doing things right? Like, I don't know, maybe, but I'm going to fucking do it anyway. Yeah. I don't know do we know if we're doing this podcast right when we first started? I don't know. I don't
sounds
know if
better.
It
It sounds way better.
It sounds better now. But you don't know. And you just kind of like, you don't know, you just do it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think after a while, you build up enough like track record and results. You're like, you look back and you're like, yeah, I can feel confident saying that I was doing it right. And then that gives you like a huge boost of accelerant because now you like stop second guessing yourself as much. You know, I still second guess myself all the time. But that's totally normal. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just something you got to power through.
I agree. I appreciate it, man.
Well, I hope you guys got something out of this conversation. I know I did. This is cool.
Yeah.
And let us know. Let us know how this affected you. If you guys got something out of this, just DM me or Kota. And also let us know what you guys would like us to talk about and discuss. If you guys are having challenges or issues and, you know, anything in, maybe not your life. I don't want to, I'm going to be a fucking life advocate here. But anything in your business, anything business related, which is somewhat tied into life if you're an entrepreneur. Hit us up. Let us know. We're here to help. And this is the whole reason we do this stuff. So the more we can have a higher impact on like what you guys really fucking need, that's what we're here for.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you guys are watching on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, share it to other friends, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to do. But yeah, maybe leave a comment, nice like, share. You took something away from this, so you know what to do.
All right, man. Awesome.
Take it back,
bro. Cool.